Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast with me, CY, and Baker, FPL 343. How are you doing today, mate?
I'm very well. Sorry, mate, but I am very well.
I mean, we are on complete polar opposites this week. The title of the pod is Variance, and I think we are at both ends of it completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a bit of a rubbish one for me. Quite painful in a number of ways, but I've been looking around, and it's not like I'm the only one going through it. So it's not like the worst thing. But yeah, just a lot of frustration. I mean, and it comes down to a couple of things. I mean, let's say you hit Salah out last week and you brought in, let's say, Bowen. I mean, that's it. There's the difference. That's it. That's all you needed to do. It didn't really matter who you captained outside of that. I mean, some people still waiting on Ronaldo. Fair enough. Some people had Son, got something. Cancelo got something at least. So some people had Foden returned. So all sort of the alternative captains did well this week. I don't think there's any. I mean, I saw a few rogue Edwards out there, but
some good roguish they did that, mate. But
some really good ones. But yeah, I mean, obviously Salah was the big Salah was the big opportunity this week. It was a massive opportunity, and yet just didn't really. Well, we know what happened.
We know what happened.
So,
we know what happened. It was such a weird experience when the Salah thing, even just the camera angle of the penalty, like it was a weird angle, like right. It was almost like a drone, or they use that thing on the wires come down, so it was like something we wouldn't normally see. And I was just watching it, thinking, well, that's it. 15 minutes in, first goal down. This is bad. And then, I mean, it's not even just a great save; it's a bad pen.
It's a rubbish penalty. It's one of those. If the keeper goes the wrong way, it looks okay, and you go, fair enough. But if the keeper goes the right way, he makes that save every single time. So bad pen. And you just, for me, you just have to compare it to Harry Kane's penalty. Like, you just don't stop that penalty. It doesn't matter what the keeper does. He could dive that way, in that direction, high. Wouldn't save it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Wow.
Go on then. Tell us the good stuff. How's your week going?
It's just, honestly, it's just a few days. I mean, this game changes so quickly. You think you just want to get through free hit, and I get through free hit, and I get really lucky the night before deadline that Ronaldo gets a 1-pointer, and then I go into this week without Ronaldo and Salah. And look, we're recording at just before 6 p.m, so Ronaldo is still to go. So it does get worse. We don't know how much, but it does possibly get worse. I'm on 58 with De Gea to play.
Yeah, and I think De Gea, getting points from De Gea, will provide a partial offset against anything that Ronaldo does because of the ownership.
It will do.
So there's going to be at least something, as long as they've got to keep a clean sheet first. Which, we'll see.
If he keeps it clean, Ronaldo, I've checked it on the old live FPL what if De Gea got 7 points, which is a clean and free saves, which is about what he's likely to get if he does get a clean. Ronaldo can get 13 and I won't lose. Yeah. So I'll happily
Happy days, mate.
Yeah. So completely feel like kept free hit in my pocket and got away with it. Had, humongous red arrow, just under 3K in the world at the moment. I don't know
green
what I'm
arrow.
Doing.
Green arrow, mate, not red arrow.
Yeah, green arrow. Sorry, yeah. Like I said, I don't even know what I'm doing here. You know what I mean? This is a levels I don't expect to get to. Even had some bench points that I didn't get.
Yeah,
unlucky there.
You're laughing. No one's able to see your face right now because I've got your team on there. So
I'm blushing.
So who else have you got in there then for those that are listening?
So Captain Son and Bowen and Foden. Foden has been all season. It's one of those ones with Pep, and it does keep telling you that, is that because he treats players the way he does, you always do get opportunity. You always gain so well if they do play and bang. So it does start to tell me maybe you just keep someone like Foden, because when he plays, he's just so good. And Bowen with his 14 points. And interestingly, I was really looking to find a way to get King into my team because he was first on my bench. I had a strong squad. And I was scouring because there was a lot of people had sort of said to me when I put my team up that they said, "Oh, you're playing Bowen." And I was like, well, yeah, why would I not play Bowen? It's like, well, he's played a lot of games. They could maybe rotate him and stuff like that. Then it turned out Fornals has got COVID. So he might have been rotated. You never know. If not, so really did get the rub of the green on it. It was ended up between Alonso and King for the final place. And I just felt Chelsea would keep it clean. And I'll pass over to you at that point.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah. So let's move on to my team. So I had almost 10 points banked at the back with Mendy in goal. Last minute equaliser meant that went down to 3. Reguilon came off at half time after getting booked, so that was a 0-pointer there. Mount got me an assist, and Son got me an assist, and that's all I've got because I've got Salah captain.
Wow.
No, I have King coming off the bench because Pookie just vanished off the face of the earth, which was a bit of a disaster. And now we don't know whether he's ill, whether he's injured, whether he's got COVID. We just don't know. And then now we've got the risk of their next game against Leicester not going ahead. So, that's obviously a problem. It was a punt, but I thought it was a fair punt. Palace made them look stupid in the first half an hour of that game. They really did. They absolutely dominated. And if you look at the third goal that Schlupp scored, I mean, whoever it was, I think it might have been Kouyaté or someone like that, was just dancing around, or Mateta maybe, dancing around in the box just at snail's pace before it ended up at Schlupp's feet. And so, that didn't go to plan. I've got Bernardo, nothing. Liverpool was crap. James went off injured. So, in terms of what could go wrong, pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything, mate. And you were forced into decisions. That's the other difference, though, is because you free-hitted, and then therefore you get the team back, and then you find out that Arsenal have not got a game, and you've got triple Arsenal. I mean, like I say, it's all fallen my way, and it's not fallen your way in that position. So you had to take, and then Gallagher gets COVID in a prime game.
Perfect.
I mean,
thanks very much.
You did the moves, and you probably
said, because you said last week. I mean, it kind of favoured those that were a bit aggressive. I was thinking taking hits would be okay. Favours those that would be aggressive, and just didn't turn out that way. So, I mean,
the Pookie one. If Edouard wasn't going to AFCON, would you have gone there probably over Pookie?
He was considered. He was considered. I did also consider Vardy as well, and Vardy and Emerson instead, but that kind of went away when Gallagher was out. And because I was considering Edouard at one point, not for long actually. He was just too expensive. I think I'd have had to do. I think I was having to do, because I did look at it. And I think I was looking at doing Dyer instead of Reguilon, and I just didn't fancy it. So I felt Reguilon and Pookie would be better than Dyer and Edouard. And Edouard being short term. I knew Edouard was short term anyway. I just decided that wasn't the best way to go. Now I'm in a situation now where I feel like I might need to wild card anyway. So it could have been that I could have done that on a short term view and been okay with it. Granted, a lot of that's now hindsight, saying okay, woohoo, I'd have picked up the Edouard points, but that's just a.
What can any of us do, mate? We are in the lap of the god. I mean, fixtures are adding luck to the game.
So before we go into fixtures, because I know we're going to talk about that, can we just plug the pod and then we'll go into fixtures with Krellin and stuff like that? Cool. So for anyone listening, watching, whatever you're doing, the podcast Twitter accounts at AboveAverageFPL and at Baker FPL 343. Podcast available on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. Also on YouTube, Above Average FPL. Make sure you subscribe to either the podcast or the YouTube or both. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're getting on. Please smash that like button on YouTube. It really helps us in terms of algorithms and all that good stuff. And just engage, comment. We like to engage with our listeners, followers, watchers, subscribers, all that good stuff. Make sure you do that. And fixtures.
And like and subscribe. I think we're about 350 subscribers on YouTube now, and it would be. Yeah, it'd be good. We're getting more views than that now. So it'll be good to keep in on that. And that's, we want to continue to work on that and invest in that way. So whilst, still audio is still what we love. But yeah, fixtures. So we don't really know. I mean, I kind of expected to know. I mean, poor Ben Crellin, mate. Like, the man's not sleeping. I mean, genuinely.
Did I see a tweet where he said, I wasn't going to make a spreadsheet, and then I was going to do something else, and then I ended up making a spreadsheet.
Yeah, he literally, like, every tweet, if you just, they all start with the same words. I'm going to need to update my spreadsheet. And then off he goes.
Here are my updated predictions. Yeah.
And I tell you what, yesterday at one point, it looked like 21 was going to be a relatively big double. So 2 days ago, I was thinking I might free hit in 21 because it looked like teams that were not teams you kind of wanted players for. But then you've got the fact that Arsenal have got City and Chelsea have got Liverpool, and you think, well, maybe I could just avoid those games and then go big on Leicester, Watford. Well, that's the thing, Watford. Like, how big can you go other than King? Because Dennis is gone and it's just King, and you go, what? You can't go any more than that, can you?
There's no one there. I mean, I think it was Andy said I want Watford players, and someone said, like, who the hell do you want? I mean, because you look down the list of players and it is just it's a load of shit. It really is bad.
Well, I look at it and everyone looks at it and says Watford have got lots of doubles, so I want Watford players, and I just think I want whoever Watford don't play. We'll talk about the game that they had if a chance, but they don't care. Like, they just swing, and that's how they play. They just keep swinging, and if you're good players, you're just going to keep getting chances against them. I mean, Bowen, in a way, was unlucky to only get the points he got. I thought it was perfectly fine, the goal that he scored. I thought it was a nonsense, that free kick, taking it back like all the way, and it was a crappy little nothing. Is that to me does not feel like the sort of things we should be VARing.
I mean, just listing these players, right? So, I mean, because we don't know. The thing is, if we knew whether Foster was going to come back in straight away, then we'd have a little bit more info and a little bit somewhere to go. But like Backman, Foster, no. And then you got Ngakia, Kiko, Firmino, Cathcart, Kabasele, Sierra Alta, Nkulu, and Danny Rose, no. Sissoko, no.
Nope.
Kuka, Cleverly, no. Tufan, Gosling, no.
No.
King, yes. Fletcher, Cucho, João Pedro, and Sema. I mean, it's just...
How much is João Pedro? Do you know?
It must be 5-ish. Can't be more than that, sure.
He was good last season in the Championship.
He weren't bad.
And he's got straight back in suddenly now. He's a bit fit again. So...
We came off the bench, didn't he, this week?
You
can make me find this quickly.
Oh, we're not going to bother, so I don't know.
But I'm still going to look.
King, innit? That's it.
You've got 12 strikers, isn't they? 5.4 for João Pedro. No.
Okay. So
moving on.
Yeah, and then Leicester looked like they were at one point like they were going to get a double. Now Ben's downgraded them to a possible against Everton.
Yeah,
but the game against Norwich now is sounding like it might be in doubt for the weekend. So you're like, oh my God, they might not even they might go from potentially doubling
to blanking. Oh wow! And Madison's. I mean, it's stupid as well. Madison was brought off, and he's already been lumped into teams as well. It's madness.
Lumped in. Vardy's out for a month, and you think, right, this is open.
He looked down. Yeah, he looked. I mean, Iheanacho looks like a really good shout now with Daka injured as well.
No, he's not, because he's off next week. He's off to AFCON.
Oh, is that what it is?
3 days.
So, Iheanacho.
Yeah,
of course he is. Oh Christ!
Nacho's here for Norwich. Just because you shorten his name, who are they going to make him Mexican, mate?
Fuck's sake. Okay, so who have they got up front then? They're playing Perez or something.
It's going to happen, isn't it?
It's got to be like Jose Perez, surely.
There's going to be a Perez playing coming out of left field.
Jesus Christ.
Lookman's the one.
Yeah, true. Lookman.
But then Lookman and Barnes, if Barnes comes back, like he's back in training today, I think, or something like that. They said it was first day back. Like, Barnes could end up playing number 9 for a bit. Daka's on Ben Dinnery's site is due to be back on the 15th, which is game week 22. But then you ask yourself that question is, maybe Leicester don't mind if the game's called off on the weekend because they're just giving it absolutely everything. And they're ravaged with injuries. So maybe they're quite happy to wait on the Norwich game and therefore they'll go, yeah, fine. It's a difficult one. And then...
Yeah. I've just realised that I had the wrong set of fixtures. I had an old spreadsheet still on the screen.
Well, you can't blame it, mate.
No,
they update every 2 hours.
There it is. There's the new one. Yeah. So Norwich looking at a blank, Everton possible. Yeah.
Everton, we just don't know. But maybe Damari Gray, maybe from them.
Well, the thing is, I would have really liked. I mean, if Everton had played Newcastle and Calvert-Lewin was fit, I mean that could have been an option. Because as I say, I was considering him this week as a move down from Lacazette, but obviously we knew that the Newcastle game was a risk. So you messaged me, but do not transfer in DCL. Okay, fine. Let's put that one on ice for now. But I mean, I don't mind him getting a few extra days rest. I don't mind that at all. So.
Honestly, we don't know, and maybe tomorrow. All your hope is you do know, because imagine after what we've had over the last 2 weeks, they release the fixtures like 10 minutes before the deadline or something like that. It does seem coincidental. People keep releasing information right on deadline. Like even this one,
wasn't it Villa? Wasn't it Villa cancelled their game on the deadline for the next game week?
And then City announced Ferran Torres had gone on this deadline or whatever it was. You were like, that's an odd one. Did
that come out of nowhere as well?
There was some rumours, I think, about it. It was going to happen. Not a huge amount of money, but just odd things. But they seem to be that everyone comes at deadline time, which is weird. I don't understand it. But we just have to just keep up with. So if you haven't, I'd probably just for the next 40 hours put alerts on for Ben.
Actually, I was going to do that. Let me do that. You're not in the podcast account anymore, are you? So
the only thing is, if you put alerts on for Ben, because he doesn't sleep, you want to make sure as well that you maybe airplane mode it overnight, because otherwise it might just keep going. So yeah, it's madness, mate.
I'm doing that right now. All tweets done. There we go.
So we could change anything from doing big hits come Saturday morning to rolling because
I could be wild card.
It's in 22. You could wild card still.
Free hit.
Hit. Like as I said, I was thinking free hit, and now I'm like, don't think so. And I guess there is the question of if you free hit or bench or wild card or anything is with those games of so City obviously don't have double. Probably. Oh God, I don't think they definitely haven't got a double. They're the ones that haven't got a double.
Well, they were less likely to because they haven't had any postponements. They haven't got one. Okay, so Ben's saying no because they haven't had any postponements yet. They've somehow managed to avoid it all.
Yeah, so they've got Arsenal and Chelsea in the next 2. So if you wildcard, it's like how many do you go with? And because Cancelo's obviously been brilliant. Laporte looks like the one.
Yeah,
really.
He looks good, doesn't he?
And then Liverpool, it's like, do you triple up? But then how do you get back to Salah? And then even if you wildcard, how do you get back to Salah? It's really tough.
If you wildcard, you're losing value on all the players that you've gained on. So it's not like you just lose a couple 0.2 or 0.3 from Salah. You lose, you probably lose over 1 million. And then that makes it really tough.
And there's like 10 days between 21 and 22. So if you do wildcard in 21, you've then got to get through 10 days of madness to then come back in and be okay. And FA Cups. And if you do, bear in mind, Chelsea, who we got? Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, and who's the other team in the Carabao?
Liverpool.
And Liverpool.
Yeah.
So you've got teams that have got to play 2 games, so potential injuries and all that stuff. I really don't think I would wildcard in 21 unless I have to. But what if they announce 3 doubles tomorrow?
Yeah.
What can any of us do? It's a real problem.
Yeah. I think this is probably the more important topic rather than going through actually the games this week, because we kind of know the big players from the teams that are doing well, and stuff like that. I mean, we just know that. Well, Chelsea's defence is like mudded completely. I mean, I can't deal with that pain anymore. I just can't.
They feel like last season's Brighton, don't they? Where they managed the XG really, really well. But the issue is they don't do enough on the non-pen XG
to keep teams away. I mean, they need to
keep
spend
teams away.
Exactly. They don't spend. Yeah, it feels like they just don't spend enough time in the opposition box that creating chances. And what that means is they spend more time in their box. And they were battered by Brighton. But I mean, if you take the face value stats, I mean the XG fine. That's fine in terms of chance creation and the quality of chances that they had. But in terms of how the game was played, I mean Brighton did a number on them. I mean, it does help when you take off Reece James and you have to bring on Alonso, who's suspect defensively, and it's all a bit not great.
This is a team that when teams can sit in quite well against them and they don't get penalties, they struggle at times. They had 0.9 XG away to Watford. They had 0.7 odd against Brighton yesterday. Not very much. Same against Wolves. So you've got a team that's not creating more than 1 XG per game.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, especially a premium team.
That's a problem, for me. And you've got a manager that's consistently just whining. That doesn't help you, does it? As a player, if you're thinking all the time that this guy's whinging, bare bones, doesn't excite you. And hey, this variance might change those that have got Salah. That's the thing. They don't hold teams off, and now they're going to play the best attack in the league.
Yeah.
There could
I don't feel uncomfortable. Twist, yeah, I don't feel uncomfortable having Salah this week.
I wouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. I wouldn't feel uncomfortable captaining Salah. I genuinely wouldn't.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. But I he's going to want to sign off well. He's got to be angry, isn't he? He's got to be angry at the fact that he just missed a penalty and they've just lost. So
definitely,
he is interesting. Where are we off to next?
I don't know, mate. I've got kids running around outside. I don't know whether you can hear them. If you can hear them, apologies. You've got 3 kids under the age of 7 in the house just running around, cousins going nuts. But if you can hear them, then so be it. It is what it is.
I'll shout you out here, actually. I'll shout you out here because for anyone who listens probably knows by now, but you do all the work. I just turn up and go, hi, and drink a beer and clear off. But not only are you doing the work, but I'm at home and you are how many 100 miles away? 500 miles away
600.
From home? 600 miles away from home and managing this through a laptop and doing it in a house with your parents, with kids throughout the holidays. So, yes, a shout out to you.
We do what we can do, mate. We do what we can do to try and remain slightly professional if we can. But yeah, I think the only other thing we were going to talk about was just to go back to kind of the variance side of things and just look at some of the decision making. Jesus Christ! Look at some of the decision making that we've made, and particularly looking at like this game week. So we went on to. You highlighted this website to our little Twitter group that we've got. If you want to get in on the little Twitter chat, just let us know. We'll just jump you in. That's no problem. Which is FPL Optimized. So it's kind of a collaboration between Fantasy Football Hub and FPL Review. So it's FPL Optimized with an S.com. Just jump onto there.
It's with a Z, isn't it? I think
don't say that.
Yeah, it is. We will tweet a link to the site so that you can use it. But right. I think it's
FPL Optimized with a Z. Yeah, not an S.
With a Z.
We'll tweet a link to it. But so we looked at a few of the little things there, and you were looking at it from a temperament point of view during the game week to see where you were compared to what you'd expect to be at, and you were looking at it versus like the prime sort of data set, which is the best managers. I think you described it as, imagine you were playing a game, you'd set it on hardest level.
Yeah,
this is what you compare.
Basically, I'd do it. So if you go on their site and then go, so a guy, I might be butchering the pronunciation, but Sertaup, That's how it's spelled, SERTALP. And he created this site. And I asked him a few weeks ago about what does this tell me, this game week, review? Because I saw what it'd done, and where it's really useful is when game weeks are over a couple of days, because we've always seen those things like 28 from 3 any good, or 18 from 5 any good type things, and you're like, they're quite dull messages and tweets that we see. But what his site does on the game week is you can set your data set, so you can either set it based on your local rank tier, or you can set it to Prime. And Prime is basically something that the Game Week review FPL review site use with the top 1,000 managers, so like Hall of Famers. So I set it to Prime because I always think to myself, what's useful is how well am I expected to do compared to them? And I always think if it's above 0, I should be on for a good week because I'm making decisions like they're making. So I was expected this week to be 2 points above them.
Well, yeah, I'm going to bring up the graphic now, but I mean, what I did is just to caveat that is I've done you against the top 10k because that was your starting rank, and mine is against the top 100k. So just bringing that onto screen now. So do you want? I mean, if you talk about you talk about the numbers. Go for it.
Yeah, so which wasn't much different. I was nearly 4 points expected above the top 10k, so in that area. And I was expected to go up in the afternoon games because I had Sun captain. I was expected to get hit by Salah, but I was expected to recover a bit of it because I had double Chelsea defence and triple City, and then get away with the De Gea versus Ronaldo piece. That's kind of
and you can see that on the left hand side on the graph on the left as it drops down. The yellow dotted line drops down as Baker's saying. So,
and what happened instead was Bowen got a load of points. Son did okay. And so I was above. I didn't get the drop because Salah got no points.
Yeah.
I did get the expected gain that I got. In fact, a little bit more than the expected gain I would get because I had Foden. And so Foden pushed me up a bit further than what I would expect it to be last night. And I'm still expected to carry off the fact that I've got De Gea versus Ronaldo, and that's where we're at. Yeah. So it enables you to think, well, is this just good because I've got lots of players, or is it that, that's where I was supposed to be? And I feel like it really helps my temperament, especially if you get the negative, because if you're expecting to go down and you don't, you can really celebrate it as a victory. And if you do go down, you can go, well, I did expect to go down, so it's okay.
I think, and just comparing that to my graph, so my graph's on the right-hand side, and mine's against the top 100k. So I was expecting it to end the week, 5 points. Well, it says 5, but well, no, it's at this point. Sorry, at this point, I was expected to be at 5 points ahead of the top 100k. And you can see my drop where Bowen essentially has dropped me down. And then obviously the gain that I was expected to get from Salah, doesn't actually materialise, and I get nothing. Then I get a little spike where I've got my double Chelsea defence, but I get a little drop because of Foden, and that kind of mirrors slightly. I'm supposed to do slightly better, but I didn't quite get that because James didn't play the 90 minutes as well. And then I get the drop off for Ronaldo at the end when that game comes tonight. So, if you can see the difference there, I mean, the realised gain on your point at the moment is 19.24 points, and my realised loss is 11. So, there's a 30-point swing between me and you as of right now, and we were both expected to beat our ranked tiers. So, if you want a visualisation that shows you variance, I mean, just look at these. And how did you put it? What did you put it in our chat? What was I doing? I was basically playing what?
You were playing it Etch-a-Sketch with analytics and managed to draw a ferry.
Yeah, I did.
It genuinely just looks like some kind of big capsized boat.
Yeah. So if you're watching the YouTube, you can see that right now, how the ferry just so nicely sits in my graph. So
it was beautiful. As soon as I saw it, I was like, wow. But it kind of tells you the bit of understanding And where you can just make yourself really comforted is go, is this decision issues or is it outcome issues? Because we don't control it once the deadline's played, and we just have to just take it. But if you knew you were in for a bad week to start with, and then you have a bad week, you go, well, I kind of knew I was in for a bad week. And if you weren't and you get a good week like me, you go, don't like claim it's that you've just mastermind it. There's luck there. You know, I was expected to do okay. And so if I hadn't, I'd have been unlucky. And the fact I did, I got luckier than I should have.
And you will get peaks and troughs because the expected data and expected points is based on models that are built over longer periods of time, etc. So, you know, when you see Salah against Norwich, for example, and you see his expected points is maybe like 8 points in the week, that's just generally an average. I mean, we can all sit here and say, you know, if he double returns, which is very, very likely against Norwich, then he'll get more like 10, 11, 12, 13 points, whatever. But, you know, the expected points over a longer sort of sample size would be 8, for example. So, yeah, there is that to consider as well. I mean, you know, something that was interesting from FPL Optimize, I was just mentioning it before we started, is that in fact, I looked at the play. There's 2 midfielders. So I've got the midfielder that has contributed most effectively towards my rank, or to my point score, my rank, is Ben Rama, and that was a lot to do with all of his early points in the first few game weeks. And then the one player that's actually hurt me the most, the midfielder that's hurt me the most, is Salah. 24.5 points effectively against me. Now that has a lot to do with him not returning this week, obviously as a start. It also has a lot to do with the fact that I captain Havertz in game week 9, and it just shows. It does really feel like a kick in the teeth when I've been on the wrong side of it both those weeks. And I said, yeah. Well, it was a few weeks after that. It was the middle of November that I said that I was moaning about variance, and then I got lucky with Rudiger off the bench and whatever, and I kind of felt like it had balanced kind of slightly in my favour. And then I felt that that last week when, I felt the Cancelo captain had helped me sort of deal with that loss. And if I look back at that game week, perhaps I don't know whether we can get the data for that game week, but if we look back at that game week and I can see my variance in comparison to what was expected, you'll probably see that I was projected and realised a higher game. But this has just sucked me right back down again. And it's weird because I'm looking at a squad that I'm not particularly comfortable with as well. And someone was saying like there was a tweet earlier, and someone was saying, well, they're saying I'll transfer James out now, and I'm like, well, yeah, but I've still got Arsenal players, I've still got triple Liverpool, I've still got Salah, I've still got Mendy, who's about to hit the worst run of his life. I've got Pookie, who's gone. I mean, there's so many fires in my team at the moment. It's just hard work. So
it does make you think that you could do the old wildcard 21 and bench boost in 22 and really go for it, but it's a tough gig, mate. It's a tough gig at the moment, but just because of that 10 days between 21 and 22.
You'd have to survive a lot to get through that.
You really would. Whereas I think if you even just wild carded in 22, and just had 11 brilliant players, but even without the bench boost, I think anyone with that plan will do well from it.
But does that make free hit in 21 more appealing? And I know it feels like I'm burning a lot of chips.
Yeah.
Which means I'll have a triple captain somewhere along the line for a plum fixture or a plum double somewhere. But it does feel like I'm burning all my chips now, and then I've got to try and I'm almost trying to get my points in the bank, and then I've got to try and survive. Which it might be the way to go. I mean, it might be the way to go. Something to consider for sure.
It is. One thing you showed me on that optimized site, which I thought was good, was that expected points versus effective ownership in the game week review. And so this week, basically, I went in with without the 2 biggest names in the week, which is Salah and Ronaldo. So
I've brought that up on the screen, and for anybody who's watching it, they're the 2 red dots on the top graph at the top. Basically, they're above Baker's, and all of our selections are in blue. So
so the players on there that I did have though, but other than that, I had everything covered basically. Is only my lowest ownership this week for any player was 39% that started. and King first on my bench was 30%.
Yeah.
So what I've found is by spreading the money and not having Ronaldo or Salah, as it were, is that I then get a real plethora of really good options. Big bench headaches. Bench 7 points this week when not many people had any bench points this week.
Feels massive.
But I do wonder with this COVID situation, have I sort of lucked into maybe the way to play and that we do spread around and we don't overcommit with a Ronaldo or a Salah. I've said that now, and Ronaldo in 2 hours' time is probably going to bang a hat trick in, and we'll all change our minds on it. But
love this game.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to know where to go, where to spend your monies. But what I think I had so many bases covered this week that something had to work for me, and it did.
And it did.
So that's a good thing to look at for us. And then probably the only other thing we looked at on that site was the old how's the season going, didn't we?
Yeah, it was kind of a little look about how our decisions, and this is more on outcome than decision making, and we just sort of had a quick look at comparing ourselves to, against each other, and then against the
world number
one, which is it's kind of a high high mark. You might as well.
We call ourselves above average, mate. We might as well go for the most high averages you can be.
Exactly. So just pulling that up onto the screen now. So it's kind of like a radar graph, which just kind of plots the success of decisions that you've made. So there's myself in yellow, Baker in red, and then Daniel Masson Abraham, who is currently leading. And so it takes basically, for a clean sheet, if a goalkeeper or defender keeps a clean sheet, then that's what it counts. And you can see me at about 38% roughly, and Daniel Masson at 48%. So on average, almost half the time he's getting a clean sheet from his defenders. I'm getting it just over a third of the time. Again, goals, almost half the time he's getting it. I'm again down near the third mark. I'm winning on assists though. I'm getting better. I'm good. I'm the assist king. So just above 20. What's that, about 26, 27%? So it's not such a big deal for the world number one. But the thing is, the goals and the clean sheets drive the bonus. So again, he's winning that, and I'm not. And you're kind of in the middle of all three.
It's a good point, that, isn't it? Is there's definitely a correlation probably between the fact that when you have the assist players, they get so little for the bonus. They're just never in their game at the moment because we've got these elite defenders which get clean sheets and assists, so therefore they get them. But those midfielders that get assists, those midfielders and attackers that tick along, just don't get anywhere near it. I think the biggest thing that really stood out to me, I mean, the captaincy matrix for this diagram only goes to 70%, which almost suggests like 70% is like elite performance. And when you think about it, and I think about previous seasons, getting a sort of 70% captaincy return, so basically 7 times out of 10, you get a captaincy return, you'd feel like you were just majestic at that point, wouldn't you? You'd feel like you were god of the game. But where we've just had this auto-captain Salah, we're all just off the matrix. So it's almost like captaincy isn't actually the impact of where we need to be. You've got to try and find other ways to win it because everyone's just smashing it. Like normally, anybody like me and you who are doing like 80% captaincy returns will be top 1K.
Yeah.
Just because of being that alone. But it does show you can't really afford those cheapo defenders. If you want to hit 50% returns on clean sheets, you've got to have the defenders from the big teams, haven't you?
Yeah.
Got to. And if you want to get a 50% goal return, so all of your that's midfielders and strikers, that is, when they're looking at this. So the world number one, his midfielders and strikers get a goal every other game. And, when you think about it, you used to say about strikers, if they got a goal every other game, they were a top striker. Well, we're now asking for like 6, 7, 8 players to get that kind of return. If you really want to smash it, you can't afford baddies.
Yeah.
So maybe it is spread the funds a little bit more and just stay with Captain Salah, but we can't do that for the next few weeks.
No. But it's definitely you definitely need goal scorers. It's
Need goal
so
scorers.
it's so
It's
key
obvious.
for goal scorers. So what does that mean for XGI as a or expected goal? Yeah, XGI as a metric.
Well, that's the funny thing with XGI, isn't it? Because it can be really drastically swayed by
getting assists.
And Josh King's the example of that one. You know, you watch him; he got the assist, didn't he, this week?
Yeah.
He actually wasn't involved very much forward play. It was all Dennis. When you really looked at it, you were like, who's actually going to score the goals here? It was Dennis.
Yeah.
And that's why the people that have picked Dennis and not picked King have reaped the rewards. Because so we might need to look more at that. Who are the ones that are the weapons? So the Jota, the Foden, they're weapons.
Yeah.
You know, is Bernardo, I thought, was brilliant last night for City, but he was always on the left wing. He never looked like he was going to score.
Yeah. That was the player that the tweet was saying I needed to take out was Bernardo. And I was like, I've got all sorts of injured players at the moment and dead players. But yeah, that's a problem.
I saw some people saying about he's had like the same XG in the last 3 games as he had in the 3 games before. And he might have, but the positions he was taking up are changing. What was happening was Foden was, when they was going, let's go really wide and play a wide player on the left and a wide player on the right. Bernardo's become that wide player on the left. So Grealish
and that's when
run in.
Yeah, and that's when Foden wasn't as attractive as a player anyway. And he's always going to be more. He's always further forward than Bernardo has been anyway, and he was less attractive to me anyway, as an asset when he went out so far wide left, and more interesting when he drops into the middle and becomes basically the focal point of that attack or as part of that false 9.
It's really easy for everyone to claim hindsight and say that they knew the right things, but we didn't know tactically he was going to shift Gundogan. He was going to stick Bernardo outside and put Grealish and Foden inside him. Like no one knew he was going to do that.
Yeah.
That's why he's Pep. He trains players to play multiple positions, and therefore he's just so bloody hard to plan for.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he doesn't. He makes it difficult for us. I mean, his entire job is to make it difficult for the best coaches in the world to work out what he's going to do. So you got a bunch of guys, a bunch of nerds on Twitter, just like
us trying to work it out.
Trying to work it out. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. So I think that's all we have, and I think that's a good time. We're on good time at the moment. Just have a quick one before the next deadline, which is on January the 1st at 11 o'clock, I believe, if that fixture hasn't been cancelled.
If that fixture goes ahead, just while you say it, let me just share some news.
Oh, really?
So looks like that Newcastle, Southampton is in trouble. So
which makes sense because Newcastle have just started their kind of COVID thing.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
More cases at Newcastle training ground this week. More test results appear likely. Request for Southampton postponement will be made.
Yeah.
So that one's done. Looks like quite a lot of changes for United tonight from leaks. Sounds like Van der Beek in for Bruno, which we knew because he had the ban, but Cavani in for Rashford, Sancho in for Greenwood. I think they're all good. I thought
that
Sancho,
makes sense
once he came on was much
yeah,
better.
I didn't think and that makes sense because Cavani played well and scored, deserves to come back in.
Yep.
So
here's one.
Go on then.
Lukaku. Lukaku's basically said he wished he was still at Inter. Chelsea, mate. I'm not sure they're necessarily. They're just not in a good place, I don't think.
Definitely feels like 2 points dropped at Tottenham, doesn't it? As well, especially 10 men. Yeah, and it feels even more so now with with Chelsea dropping points yesterday. Yeah.
So plenty. I mean, just stuff's just constantly going on. We just got to be on it. Clear whatever you can Saturday morning, I think, is the game for all of us, and try and be free about 9 o'clock. Probably dial into old Andy Let's Talk FPL stream if you can do it, because it's so handy in the mornings. Like he does get you're seeing a great player actually as well. Just might muddle through what we try muddle through, and work out what we need to do, whilst having 50,000 people watch him. It's
and asking like,
genuinely remarkable.
Should I do Bernardo to Foden? Yeah.
Yeah. And then
is Calvert-Lewin starting? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's why he's the man.
He's the man. Yep.
Check out FPL Optimized. I just genuinely do say it does help me, and with games being so fast and just keep happening, is we've got to do what we can do to keep the stresses out of our life. Like, we shouldn't have had 40 points between us. We should have had about 4.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah.
So
here's what it is. Here's what it is. I'm not in a bad position. I'm not 145k. And I'm not in a bad position. So it's just the team doesn't look as good as I want it to at the moment. But
exactly,
we can fix that. We can fix that.
Exactly. And feel sorry for those that had Salah this week. I mean, if we both didn't, mate, then no one would have tuned into this one. At least they're there for you, mate.
Yeah. A few sympathy ones. So right,
I feel bad for those.
Okay, we'll leave it. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Let's not talk about it so much. Right, guys. Remember, follow the Twitter account @AboveAverageFPL. Follow Baker @Baker FPL343. As Baker said, FPL optimized. Great little tool there. Put your alerts on Ben Krellin, because it's ever changing and you will need him. He will help guide us through it all.
We probably should say on FPL Optimized is he doesn't know we're doing this. This isn't a plug or anything like that. No. So we might have completely butchered his site, but we're just saying this is what we use it for.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty there. Go and have a look. And if it works for you, it works for you. So
yeah.
Cool, mate. Right. Well, I need to shoot off, but I guess
have a good night, mate.
Have a good night. Have a good game week.
See you later, mate.
Cheers, mate.